Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Why Australia. I'm Lisa Rossmeissl, owner of Boomerang Escapes and certified Aussie specialist with Australia Tourism. I'm happy to have you back here. Let me just pull this up so I can see if anybody pops on. At any time during the show, if you have any questions, comments, drop them below. I'll be happy to get to them if I can during the broadcast. If not, I will pop on afterwards and answer them then. I'm just pulling this up. Let's see. And so we are already at episode 6. I want to thank you all for those that have been watching or watching the recording afterwards. I appreciate it. We are going to, if you remember last week, we touched base a little bit on Melbourne, particularly with the Australian Open. And this week, actually on Wednesday, I had the pleasure and advantage of meeting with Melbourne, Victoria, Australia's tourist board. They were here in New York City. So I had a lunch and learn on Wednesday, met with 14 different suppliers from the region, met with, the U.S. market heads for the tourist board. So since I had that opportunity, thought we would stay down in Melbourne this week. So our topic today, while I will not be going super in depth to Melbourne, I want to hit some of the highlights and really just kind of showcase this region and why you should consider a visit to Victoria and Melbourne and the surrounds. But before we get into all the information on the city, I want to grab our handy dandy lingo book and do our Aussie word phrase of the week. If you know, I do put this word each week in my e-zine, my newsletter. So if you'd like to be on the weekly newsletter, drop me a note below in the comments. Now, the newsletter isn't just geared to Australia, though the newsletter and the company definitely have an Australia feel because that is what the company was created and founded on, my particular passion for this destination. We do Australia and beyond, so we do in the newsletter also share travel tips, food menus, all sorts of things like that, as well as different itineraries showcasing Europe, South America, Caribbean, pretty much any of the world. So we do Australia and beyond. So you might be interested in getting on that list. So back to our word. Today's word is flyer. F-L-Y-E-R, flyer. Flyer actually can mean one of 3 things. Flyer can be a fast kangaroo, a fast train service, or a fast shearer. So that's our word. Look for it. It'll also be posted later in the week on our fan page here with a picture. So there we go. I don't know if that's running or not. Let me pop this open. We'll pop on afterwards and answer them then. Sorry, I'm getting the double week on our fan page here. Getting the double feed with the picture. So all right. Sorry guys, every week I'm getting bad at this technology. Sorry. All right, I'm just going to shut that down. So I will check the comments afterwards. I gotta figure this out. I've still got some tech challenges and I don't have my awesome teenagers or actually young adult children who actually act as my techie department around anymore. So let's get into Melbourne and the surrounds. Melbourne is known as, or they claim to be, the culinary capital of Australia. They are definitely a place for food and wine. It's a very vibrant art and culture scene in Melbourne. And interestingly enough, Melbourne used to be the wealthiest city in the 1800s, and we'll touch on that a little bit as we go through this as to why that is the case, why they were the wealthiest. And one of the great things now with all the new airline carriers and airlifts is that no longer do we have to go from the States to Sydney to get to Melbourne. We can now go directly from the States into Melbourne. So There are direct flights from Vancouver, San Francisco, and Los Angeles that all take you right into Melbourne. So you don't have to actually do Sydney, even though Sydney is in its own rights a beautiful and wonderful city, and we will get to her later in the season. But it does make it nice now that you can do that, fly there. And it also, even when you are doing a trip that incorporates several cities, you can fly into one and fly out of the other without having to reroute through one of them. It is really an experiential destination, and you're going to understand that as we go through. It is a city that definitely over delivers, and what they like to say is that Melbourne is not a city that you see, it is a city that you do. So there are tons of things for every type of traveler, and really a place that you could really do your whole trip and hit all the main highlights that you want to get from Australia by staying in this region. So, and of course, like I said, we talked about the tennis last week. It is also known as the events capital, and we'll kind of touch on all these points as I go forward here. So we're going to begin with a region that's just outside Melbourne. It's about 80 minutes outside of Melbourne, and that's the Yarra Valley. The Yarra Valley is a wine region. There are 70 cellar doors, and it's a great place to stay, do a overnight, not just a day trip out to the winery, but do an overnight. And one of the fun activities that you can do in the winery is to do a hot air balloon ride over the vineyards. Spectacular views, beautiful weather. So that's just one region. If we go south, and I'm going to pull up a map later to kind of give you a better picture of where these is, but south of the city is Mornington Peninsula. Mornington Peninsula is where the Melburnians, or whatever they call themselves, actually do their holidays. It's got the big holiday homes. On this peninsula, you can do the animals, you can do the wine, you can do the food, you can do hot springs. There is really a vacation holiday destination just on this peninsula, and it's not very far outside the city. And also down that way, which you can combine with the peninsula, is to go down to Phillip Island. Now, Phillip Island is famous for the little penguins, and the colony there is 32,000 now. They have 32,000 little penguins. It's only 90 minutes time outside the city. I think I have, let me show you. So this, so you go and you see the little penguin parade. Every night, these guys come back to the island and fly, swim up, and then waddle to their burrows, their homes. It's quite a sight, and there's different packages available as far as seating, how close you are to see the penguins. And then continuing outside the city, there's another region called Gippsland. Gippsland is definitely designed for the outdoor adventurer, the eco adventurers. This is a great place to do some glamping. Glamping, of course, is the tent style, just luxuried up. So there's lots of outdoor adventures and things you can do in that region. Of course, a famous thing that most people are very familiar with is the Great Ocean Road. The Great Ocean Road is a 151-mile stretch of beach drive that you can go on. It's known for the 12 apostles, although I have to tell you, there aren't actually 12. There never were 12. There are currently only 8 remaining. One of the little guys fell over recently. And you can, there is the day trip, but I highly encourage you to do this more as an overnight, maybe even a 2-night, extend it, because then you have the ability to go down on the beach, get up close, see the rocks, experience it down from that level. Or you could also do a heli over it, do a helicopter, which would give you another vantage point to just see this over a pre-book. So from there, another region, and when you'll see when I get the map that these all can kind of do in a circle, so you can actually, you know, start out in Melbourne and then work your way around, is the Grampians. The Grampians, if you're familiar at all or have seen any of the stuff that I did last year on the Blue Mountains, is similar to the Blue Mountains, and we often refer to the Blue Mountains as being similar to the Grand Canyon, except the Blue Mountains are covered with lush vegetation. It's not the dry desert look. So these Grampians, again, are lush but canyon type things. Again, it's for your walking, your hiking, your eco adventure. And there's also out here, there's another wine region connection, so you can add the wine in there between these. And earlier I mentioned how that this used to be the richest city in the 1800s, and one of the reasons for that is there's a region outside called Goldfields, and Goldfields is similar there to, say, like our Williamsburg. It has a recreation of Australian history from the gold rush. So the gold rush was really huge and impacting on the Australians in this region from the 1850s to the 1860s. So you can go to this town, the people will be dressed in period, you will be able to pan for gold. It's still active, and it's not very far out to sea. It's actually a great family destination too, with the kids. And then of course, like I said, we talked about the Australian Open and the events. So there's the Melbourne Cup, which is the horse racing. It's known as the race that stops the nation because basically every state territory in Australia stops to watch that race. They take the day off. They're given the day off. But one thing you probably didn't know that's up and coming, and there's still time to book for this year, would be the President's Cup. The President's Cup, the American team is being captained by Ernie Els and Tiger Woods. The President's Cup will be at the Royal Melbourne, December 12th to 15th of this year. So we are getting close. So if you want to see golf and you're a golf enthusiast, now would be the time to get that booked and get down there to see this. And I guess, this is the latest that they've ever done the President's Cup in the year. So very exciting. And then again, like I already mentioned that, but some other things, I wanted to get that map out. So basically these things that I just mentioned, and we'll see how we do with this map here. I'll fold it down. So if we can see if I can do this backwards and upside down. So Melbourne is right here's the city part of Melbourne. And if you see the red path, so the red path is the one that if you go down this part, oops, I can't do this backwards. Let me stand up so I can look over this way. So here we go. So the red part, if we go down this way, this is going to be your Great Ocean Road going down here. Up in here was the part we just talked about with the goldfields, another winery, another wine region, and your Grampians are up here. So basically you can, come into Melbourne, do the things with Melbourne, but you can do this over a course of like a week, and do this whole thing and get this region of Victoria and get all those things that we talk about Australia, which is the food and wine, the culture, the sports, the coastal experiences. Now, if you look down here in the blue, this route right here that's in blue, so this is Mornington Peninsula that's down here, and can't see it from upside down. And then Phillip Island is this little island here. You probably can't see it too well on my map. But anyway, so you can see how close this really is to Melbourne, and you can go spend some time here and do all of this. Of course, a lot of these things, like I said, are available by day trip, but I really would like to encourage you to consider. I know my last clients that I sent to Victoria, we did more of an immersive experience where they spent their entire Australia vacation, other than one day where they did a day trip up to Sydney, in Victoria, and just had a fabulous time. It also is a cost saver because we're taking out the domestic flights, because as you can see when we open this up, like we go over how the size is, but you can see those other two roads, the brown one at the top and the blue one. Those are two options that not only can you do by an escorted tour bus, you can also do as self-drive trips, and they go between Sydney and Melbourne. The blue one does a coastal experience, and that's going to be more like a full week with stops driving, doing a self-drive. And the brown one at top, I've actually done myself on an escorted tour. That's more like a 5-day, and will actually take you through Canberra, which is the capital of Australia altogether. So I know it's probably hard to see on the screen there, but I always have these resources available, or can get them for you from the tourist boards if we're planning a trip. So, I mean, one of the things that we want to make sure that you get is you're going to get nature experiences. You're going to be able to get up close with animals. You're not going to be able to hold the koalas here in Victoria, but you are going to be able to get up there, take that selfie photo, put your hand on the koala. You're going to be able to feed kangaroos. You're going to be able to see dingoes, Tasmanian devils, quolls. One of the things that is really neat to do is actually an evening experience, because that's when a lot of the animals that aren't active during the day come out, and they have a signature lantern experience to do in the evening. I know I mentioned on Mornington Peninsula, with it being a big vacation spot, one of the cool things that's there is the hot springs, and you can do day bath. There's different products. You can do a private couples getaway, girls trip. But one of the unique experiences that I really liked that they have is doing an indigenous culture walk. And there's also the body clay experience after there. I'm sure, like I said, I know in this video these pictures aren't pretty, but there's lots of things that we can incorporate. Lots of things, like I said, to do in this. I'm just really brushing the highlights of the region to just showcase how you can really just go to one state or territory. I mean, for comparison's sake, imagine you were coming to the US and you're doing New England. Are you going to do New England and also do, say, the desert, the Grand Canyon area in the same trip that you come to the US? I doubt it, right? So it's kind of the same way. While I can fit in several little bits and pieces and some highlights, and you see, different states in Australia, I do encourage my clients and you that I'm speaking here today to think about slowing things down, spending a little bit longer. Like I said, you can really get all of the things in this region: your food, your wine, your culture, your sports, your aquatics. It's really not lacking. So, and I wanted to show you one of the other cool things right in the city. There's lots to do. This happens to be the tallest building in the southern hemisphere. So you go all the way up in this. It has a very fast moving elevator, and it also has the option for those of you that are kind of more of a daredevil. I don't know if there's a good picture. It's called the Edge. The Edge experience is a glass cube that projects out, and then you've got the glass bottom floor looking down over the city. But what else is also really unique, if you go up into this, and you'll get one of these handy dandy things when you do, all those little yellow tags when you're looking through the viewers will let you know what you're looking at, which is really nice. I don't know if you've ever gone up to like the Empire State Building here and you're looking out those viewers and you want to know what you're looking at, so it's nice that they provide that for you. I think I've hit everything here in my notes. They gave us so much information on Wednesday. And like I said, I just really wanted to showcase the region since I just met with them. And we had been touching on Melbourne last week. And it really is a great place. Oh, I know. There was one other thing I wanted to share. This is just one of many accommodations. There's such a variety of accommodations available from every budget that can be. And one of the things about this one that's really unique is it's in a historic building. So you can see there, it used to, yeah. But one of the great things is this is the location. And you can see the rooms are very similar to what you would expect and see here in the U.S. And this one also is within the free tram zone, which is another unique feature of Melbourne, is Melbourne has a section of the city, pretty much it covers the whole central business district area, that's free tram. So you can get around very easily. And like I said, this is a hop, skip, and a jump from many locations. And I just thought it was unique. I personally enjoy staying in hotels that are of historic nature, like this one. So we will wrap things up. Thank you so much again for joining me again on your Sunday afternoon for Why Australia. Next week we'll be back. I think I'm going to jump up to the Hunter Valley. If things change, I'll let you know, but that's my plan for now. And until next time, this is Lisa Rossmeissl, owner of Boomerang Escapes and your certified Aussie travel expert. Take care. Bye.